let's dive right in, Thomas. This is a little bit like 2009, right? Islanders had the #1 overall pick. They had the choice of a franchise center in John Tavares or a generational defenseman in Victor Hedman. They went with Tavares. How do you see the Islanders going this time in a similar situation?
It is similar. I think maybe different in the sense that John Tavares was that #1 guy for so long and Victor Hedman was knocking on the door. Well, this year it's a little bit different. I know that Matthew Schaefer's name has really just came into relevance over the past couple of years. He looks like the guy. He looks like that stud #1 guy that maybe could be a Victor Hedman down the road. There's a list of names when you got guys like Michael Misa. But when I look at Matthew Schaefer and I watch the stats, well, I've got to watch all the fancy, pretty things he does, how good he is with the puck. One thing that stands out with him, only played 17 games of hockey this year. He was sick, he had an injury. This guy is still so raw, but the potential that he's flashed, it's something that if you're an NHL hockey team, an NHL general manager, you watch this, but more importantly with what you do in the first pick, you're obviously looking at the talent. We can all see that. You get a chance to get to know these guys on a personal level. You get to interview these kids. Is one of these top guys perhaps a leader that maybe pushes you over the edge, and that's the guy you take because you believe not only is the first overall pick, you can build a franchise, win Stanley Cups because they're that special? Well, and they've got the opportunity with that first pick. I have no doubt they'll make the right choice, but there's so many clips and video and getting to know these kids on a personal level that they're going to do, and that's what's going to allow them to make the right choice. But what a luxury it is. I mean, get the first overall pick. You didn't have to bottom out for it. It's just a blessing for this franchise, and I'm sure new GM Mathieu Darche is going to make the right decision.
He's already been a lucky charm, Matthew Darche. What a pick.
Yeah.
As general manager, I mean, the leapfrog from 10th to #1 overall. I mean, any team's excited by that. But I've only talked to some draft experts that have watched Matthew Darche, and Matthew Schaefer,
yeah.
Excuse me, and they say he's the complete package. I mean, mobile, can skate, closes ice quickly. You got to go with the best player, certainly available, in my opinion. So I would think it's going to be.
We're both former D.
We're former D.
It's a little bit of a loaded
We're
question
the D-man union, for
Yeah.
sure we are here, Thomas, no question about it. But apparently this kid's the real deal, and I would think you want to get it right when you're drafting #1 overall.
Used to be in the NHL, you could let a first overall pick marinate and learn the craft at a lower level. Not so anymore. We haven't seen very many first overall picks not play full seasons in the NHL right away. Can the Islanders afford to let that happen if they pick somebody like Matthew Schaefer, who, as you pointed out, Thomas only played 17 games last year, or does he have to come in and produce right away?
Absolutely not. Look, you don't go win the lottery and decide you need to spend your money the next day. You invest it properly, and that's what you have with this first overall pick. Just for argument's sake, let's just say it is Schaefer. He played 17 games last year. To me, one of the most important things in any hockey player is the instincts that you have, especially offensively. He can learn the defensive side of the game. Can you go dominate? And you have all these little things that just come to you because you're the best player possibly that's out there. Well, I know he is dominant, but it's in such a short sample setting when it comes to the OHL. It's not the end of the world in my eyes if he goes back and they say, be the best player in the world outside the NHL, but your options are sort of limited. You don't really have the American Hockey League to lean on. There's many ways around it. You can play 9 games at the start of the year, see what the kid really has, and then go through some different steps and lend him back to junior. I'm not saying there's a definitive plan that you need, but what I will say is you cannot impede the progress of a prospect that's going to be the best one in the world at the time you make the selection. You just got to be methodical and go through it. You want them to be good for 10 to 15 years, not that first year. The pressure doesn't need to be on any young kid like that.
Well, I was going to say, Thomas, great points, but the reality is when you draft #1 overall, especially in today's game or the last handful of years, they usually step right into the line.
Usually do.
So there is that pressure, whether it's from the fan base, whether it's from the hockey world, for a #1 overall pick to step right in. So there may be some growing pains along the way. He's certainly going to get a great look if, in fact, it is Matthew Schaefer. But I agree with you, and it's hard to do now. In the past, maybe 15, 20, 25 years ago, even a #1 overall pick, you could let him marinate a little bit if he needs it in the AHL. So that's going to be an interesting situation, I would think, if, in fact, he struggles a little bit early on. But Matthew Darche will have a good feel of that, and I like what he said in the interview with Shannon. I'm going to be direct and honest with my players. That's all you can ask for.
So will it be Matthew Schaefer, number 1 as a defenseman, Michael Misa, possibly James Hagens, a Long Island native who plays center as well? That we will find out soon.